Welcome back to the James and Dame Show. This is our first week of off-season content, and you might be wondering, where's Josiah? I mean, and where am I? I'm in a new seat. But
He abandoned me.
he's over there.
Hi guys.
We have a
I'm just chilling over here now.
We have a second camera.
Yep.
We're trying to up production quality.
Or just quality in general.
Yeah.
So we're trying new things as we speak. So we're getting somewhere. So so we thought for this episode today we were going to go over top 10 plays/moments of the 2023-2024 NFL season. Just literally anything in general, because it can be from like a quote that someone says to like some ridiculous play that we've seen this season. Like, it really can just go to anywhere. So I have a top 10. He's got a top 10. We're just going to share our top 10s and then kind of collab and make the top 10 list, I guess, of the season. So that's where we're going with today. So do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I don't necessarily have I don't have mine ranked yet, but I have a top 10. I have a list of top 10 plays.
Okay.
And
I have mine ranked, but you can just list off what you have. I'm going in order from 10 to 1. So
okay, I have a list, so we'll just go down the line.
okay.
This one probably would be more towards the end, but my first one of my top 10, we'll just say number 10, would be the Week 9 debut of Josh Dobbs against the Atlanta Falcons. The game as a whole, but also the game-winning touchdown.
Yes.
That game as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
he went 20 for 30, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, 7 rushes, 66 yards, a touchdown. A very clutch touchdown pass it was 7 yards, but late in the game, all while the week before was played for Arizona, and then in the middle of the week gets traded. He has like half a week to learn the playbook.
Mm-hmm.
He's not meant to start. It was supposed to be was it Darren Hall? Darren Hall.
Darren Hall.
But he suffered a concussion. Guy comes in, instantly makes an impact, leads them to a victory. I thought that was a pretty cool moment, and I felt that deserved a top 10 spot.
The birth of the Pastronaut. That's what they were calling him for a couple weeks until he lost his insanity run. So it was quite a moment to see that happen, because it was just like you don't expect someone who just came into your program to just immediately know he didn't even know every play. I'm just saying that like he had no idea what he was doing, but he was still making these impressive drives. He was getting his teammates all hyped up and everything. So it was interesting to watch that for a couple weeks until what game was it? The Raiders and Vikings, where it was just a really bad score, like 3-0 end of the game.
Oh.
Was it a Vikings game? I don't even remember.
No, not the Vikings Broncos. It would have been.
I think it was the Vikings Raiders, wasn't it? Maybe.
Yeah, Vikings Raiders.
Okay.
3-0. That was a.
Yeah, because then the next week the Raiders just dropped like 60 or 70,
63
something.
against
63 against the Chargers. Yeah, that's what happened. So, yeah. So that's actually. I should have thought of that, because like I knew it happened, but I also have more, I guess.
There was a lot. I watched just top 100 plays, and I have to say, I sat there and went, there's a lot of special teams in here.
Mm-hmm. Special teams did go up this year. I will say that.
Well, depends on which side you're taking.
Yeah, that's also fair.
You could also say it went down.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was just a bunch. I was like, how do I distinguish what's good and what's bad?
For my number 10, it's not even a play. I mean, most of mine aren't even a play. But I think one of the funniest things and one of the most insane things I saw this season was that video of a Bills fan lighting himself on fire and then jumping on a table and breaking it. I don't know what it is, but that kind of, in my eyes, that kind of summarized the Bills season for the most part, because it was more, they got off to, what was it? It was a pretty rough start, and then they started winning games towards the end of the season, and then it just completely collapsed at the end. So yeah, I I think that was definitely deserving of a top 10 in my eyes. And I guess to build off of that, technically it's 2-1. I didn't realize this. So I wanted that imagery because it ended up leading to wide right during the divisional round. What was it? The curse of... There's a curse where wide right has been like a curse for the Bills Mafia, or just the Bills organization in general. They can't escape it. It's come back to haunt them. So I think that was a pretty memorable season for the Bills, just because of how much of a roller coaster it was for a while, and just to end on a wide right kick again. So I feel bad for them, but it was definitely like, I gotta mention this at least once. So that's my number 10.
Again, I don't have mine in a specific order, but I think because of some of the details that were mentioned about my last one, I think the next best one to go with would be right, because I still have it? I do. Week 15, Raiders Chargers. The 63-21 route the Raiders had. It got Brandon Staley fired, so that's the Chargers Super Bowl right there.
Oh yeah, it was. Oof.
Yeah.
I'm glad Staley's gone.
It was. It was a game that featured the Raiders having 8 unique players scoring a touchdown. It was a very impressive feat. Like you mentioned, it came off of a 3-0. It was the week before was 3-0 against the Vikings.
That's why that's why they didn't score. They just saved it for the next week.
Saved it. They were like, we're getting Staley out of here. We're saving the Chargers.
We're giving them an ass beating. That's what it is. Just looking at my bottom, like my bottom 5 of my top 10, they're not really like significant to the NFL. I just think they're just hilarious. Specifically, number 9 being Kittle using that meme quote during the interview after they won the NFC Championship. They had us in the first half, not going to lie. That one, I watched that the entire time, or the entire interview, and it was just, Kittle is the tight end's people, or the people's tight end. You know what I'm talking about. Because he's the people's tight end. Because, I don't know, he's one of those players where I just want to see him win a Super Bowl at some point, but I don't know when that's going to happen, or if it's even going to happen at all, because people just don't realize how difficult it is to at least like get to the playoffs, let alone even get to the Super Bowl consistently or just once. And sometimes people just go there once and just never come back. So it's just, yeah. But at least Kittle gave us some entertainment for a while. So I was really hoping that the Niners would pull off something in the Super Bowl, but here we are. But yeah.
Mine's also, this one's coming from the conference championship. Was the Brandon Ayuk catch versus the Lions. Was it halfway through the third, down 24-10. Complete missed throw by Brock Purdy, but bounces off Kendall Vildor's face, I think it was.
Yeah.
Completely misses it, and then Ayuk catches it
somehow
down at the 5, and I'm like, what?
It took me at least 10 replays of that play to understand how that happened, because it was just such a spur of the moment where it was like, there's no way this is physically possible because there's a defender there. There's no reason for that ball to be up for grabs in that situation, but here we are, with Ayuk getting that. So I don't know. It was a very lucky catch, to say the least, but it was impressive of the fact that he was able to concentrate and catch that off of the defender. So yeah, that's fair.
I mean, it's a case of like not all top plays are like pure skill. There's a lot of luck that goes into it. It's like, no, it wasn't a great throw by Brock Purdy. It wasn't all on the 49ers making that play. Like, it was a mishap from the Lions, and that requires some luck. But it's a play that's just like, it's a phenomenal play. Not all top plays come from like pure skill. That's the thing.
No, some of it's just incredibly lucky. Going to my number 8. I think this is this is Mahomes whining to Allen after the Week 14 matchup against the Bills.
You had that as a top moment?
Because listen to me. I just thought, because it just kind of reflected, I guess, how people would approach like a game such as that, and how emotions can get the best of people. And because I thought it was just a moment of realization that Mahomes isn't invincible to some degree, but in that situation, I think it was just kind of funny because Allen was just standing there like, yeah, man, good game. He's like, man, that stupid call, man. You shouldn't have called that. Terrible call. I'm like, okay. I don't know. I remember seeing, what was it? I didn't see Allen's full face like during that interaction, but I can picture it in my mind, just like, okay, Mahomes, I don't win against you in the playoffs, but just let me have this one victory for once. So I don't know. I thought it was a funny situation because it's very rare when you see Mahomes get really out of character, I guess, because he's known to be more of a humble, level-headed person. So I don't know. I thought the situation was funny. During the time when we were talking about it, I was ticked off at Mahomes, but now I'm just looking back on it, I was like, okay, this is actually kind of funny because Mahomes is normally not like this, and I can just see Allen being like, please don't hurt me, Kermit, please. Kermit, please. So, I mean, that's just me. So,
my 7th. Going back to, I believe it was week 2. Week 2.
Well, that's a throwback.
I have some throwbacks. There was some good football early in the year. Broncos Commanders, Hail Mary. I'm just gonna say if we narrowed this down to 5, it was absolutely gonna be an honorable mention. Just because of the fact it was a beautiful. Well, I wouldn't say it was beautiful. Again, it was kind of lucky. It was a Hail Mary.
It was a lucky.
It ended up like 3 yards short, but it was thrown from the 50 at the end of the game. Broncos were down 8, 35-27. The ball got batted up twice, and it was Brandon Johnson who just was there alone and was like, a ball. And I was like, oh, crazy. And then you learn that it's just like, wow, this game's going to overtime, right? No. And that's why it ranks low, is because regardless of how amazing it was,
oops.
it's not their fault. The play, it was an amazing play. I just couldn't pull off the 2-point conversion. It's just a bummer, but it was, I don't know. I feel like sums up the Broncos pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, that was their entire season this year and last year, where it was just coming up short and then also crumbling to bits. So, yeah, I mean, Broncos are not going to be good I don't think in the next 2 to 3 years, unless something really turns around there. But I don't know.
New quarterback.
But we'll get to that eventually. For my number 7, I just realized a lot of these are recent, but they're still good. Baker Mayfield being intercepted by Gardner Johnson, and then Gardner Johnson giving Mayfield the ball after he picked him off. He's like, here you go. It was short and sweet. It was in the divisional round against each other, but because the week or prior to the game, they were trash talking a little bit before the game. What was it? Buccaneers backup quarterback got thrown some shade by his own starter, or Mayfield. Do you remember that? We talked about it a bit. It was one post I saw on the internet where Gardner Johnson was trying to throw shade at Mayfield, calling him like I don't know what it was. But then I think it was Russell Gage.
Russell Gage
caught some strays because of the interaction between the two. And then Russell Gage didn't do anything, I don't think, during the divisional round. But I just thought it was funny because of the trash talking prior. And then Gardner Johnson just giving Mayfield the ball, just kind of confirming, hey, Mayfield, you're not as good as you say you are. So, I don't know. I like a little bit of trash talk, so I had to include that one because it was. I watched it live, and I thought that was the funniest thing for at least 5 minutes because normally when you see something like that, it's just okay. Well, that guy's just being a jerk. No, there's context behind this one, so it was just funny. So yeah.
Yeah, I think Baker's right. I don't think he has any stats on the year. So, I mean, he threw some shade, but
also
he's not wrong. So,
see that's why it was so funny. It was just because I love the trash talking.
I did love when I read even like prior to the interception. The interception was funny because it's like it completes it.
Mm-hmm.
But CJ's just like, oh, this team is like a quarterback away from being really good, and he's just like, talks about game plan. You mentioned Russell Gage. He doesn't have any stats. I was like, damn, he didn't need to do that. But also at the same time, you right.
So yeah.
That was a good moment. Going on to my
number 6.
My number 6. This one was hard, and it's one, but also many, because it was so hard to pick one specifically. I'm gonna go just Courtland Sutton for like 5 weeks having at least one highlight reel play, but specifically against the Bills, I think is peak. I think that play as a whole was peak because it was also a really nice play by Russell Wilson as well, but Courtland Sutton for several weeks straight, just throwing catching strays, putting up highlight reels, putting people on posters, but yeah, I think the Bills, the touchdown against the Bills was like the epitome of that. But I wasn't low on Sutton, but I wasn't high on Sutton either before this year. And then I saw that like 5 to 6 week stretch, and I'm like, if they get rid of him, I'm gonna be so mad. But also, I want my team to get them. I want him because man just is a walking highlight reel apparently.
Mm-hmm.
So he was he put out some good plays, but that touchdown against the Bills that ended up putting him up like 10-0, and that was in the second quarter, I think. But it was a crazy play watching it. So I'll let you get on to your number 6.
Steve Smith versus Jerry Jeudy. That entire interview with Steve Smith, just going to town on Jerry Jeudy, and then Jerry Jeudy saying, I'm gonna I'm better than what Steve Smith makes me out to be, and then for like the next few games, he barely does anything. I mean, Steve Smith is not wrong because Judy hasn't performed as well as he should have in the NFL, specifically this year, because this was supposed to be his boom year, kind of, right? I mean, there were some people talking about that, but I guess my point is that Judy was not taking it, and then he just basically confirmed Steve Smith's rant to him, because Smith was just saying he's just a guy on the field. I did like his what was it during the Pro Bowl? Steve Smith was also mic'd up. And he was caught saying some really interesting language during that. So Steve Smith as a player, beast. But on the sideline, it's just Smith, what are we doing here? So I had to at least include that because I completely forgot about it halfway through making this list. I was just like, oh my gosh, how did I forget this? Because the amount of media that covered this was just kind of funny.
Yeah. One of my number 5. This is where things get really tough because these are just straight up plays, but it's just like they were huge. I'll do this one just because it, as far as it's, we'll go. This is back to week 1. Jets Bills. Not the one you think. It was the Garrett Wilson catch. What was it? It was 5 minutes left in the fourth, down 7, 13-6. So a very big play. It was second and goal from the 4. Zach Wilson throws a quick fade to Garrett Wilson. He kind of just bodies him out, and then he tips it to himself and catches it. And it was just, that's one of those plays I watched, and I was like,
what? Oh.
Whoa.
That was such a wild game. So much happened during that one contest. It was because, Aaron Rodgers went down. And then we have Zach Wilson coming in. The Bills somehow losing this game and everything, so it was just kind of wild.
It was a crazy game, and
it was a good opener.
It was a peak for the Jets.
It was peak Jets for sure.
Week 1, and then all
hope and optimism just completely died that day.
So,
I'll
let you get on with your number 5.
Number 5. I had to put this in the top 5 because it's very important. Lions snapping a 32-year-long losing drought in the postseason, that wild card. I had to at least put it up there because it was just 32 years is a long time, man. There are some people who are still alive that are just like, man, I remember when the Lions used to win all those championships back in the 50s and everything. Because the Lions actually have, or at least before the NFL merger, they had a lot of championships. And then they get to the NFL, and they haven't been to the Super Bowl.
It's like the same thing with the Browns.
Yeah, they had a lot of championships before the NFL merged. And then, so, I don't know. It was kind of a milestone, I guess, in not just the Lions' history, I guess, in the NFL history, because it's like a team has finally made it so close to the Super Bowl for the first time in, forever. So, I don't know. I had to put them in there.
These last 4, I'm like, I don't even know how to put these in a specific order. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go back to the same game that I did the last one. This is the one you're expecting.
Oh yeah,
which it was pretty crazy. It was what, the first Monday Night Football of the year. Again, Jets Bills, and the game comes down to overtime. Jets get a stop, force a punt, and the reason I have this higher than Wilson's is because not just because it's a game-winning touchdown in overtime on a punt return. Man, he juked out 3 guys, 65-yard return. It was crazy play. But then doing the research afterwards into who Xavier Gibson was, he's a undrafted rookie who he got a chance on the Jets and he ran with it. Literally
ran with it
all the way to the end zone. And I was like, that was a cool moment. Again, it's really hard ranking these in a specific order, but that is.
Oh, I have my specific order.
That's my fourth. So.
All right, so sticking with the Jets, but in a different week, Week 12, Jets Dolphins. Do you remember
the pick six at the end of the half?
It was. Some people called it the Hail Mary. Some people called it the Fail Mary. I don't know what you want to call it, but basically, the ball got intercepted basically at the goal line where I think they were trying to end off the half, I believe.
Is it?
And what was it? It was
Holland.
Javon Holland picked it off, ran 100 yards to the other side of the field, and got a touchdown off a pick six, or off a pick. Just rewatching that here and there is just funny to watch because there are so many plays that can literally summarize the epitome of the Jets in the last how many ever years you want to talk. But it's sad to see, but it's like you can get a good laugh out of it. So I had to put it up there because it was like, this is just typical Jets every year. There's got to be at least one every year.
What do you expect when you have Tim Boyle at quarterback?
You're right.
Listen, I don't think Zach Wilson's the solution for the Jets, but Tim Boyle isn't a better solution.
No.
So, yeah, that one was one of those where, I don't know. To me, I didn't have it ranked as high as most people, but a lot of people were like, ooh. And I was like, it was all right. It was pretty cool.
What?
But I don't know. The return the interception and the return wasn't like, watching it back, it wasn't one of those where I was like crazy. It was like,
it wasn't a crazy play. It was just funny to me.
A lot of these it was the Jets. It was
half of these for sure are like, this is just funny to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
I went like wow factor, like like top plays.
Yeah, and I think that's fair.
Plays.
Honestly, you got to have some diversity in rankings.
But
yeah.
Let's see what I'm down
number 3.
This one, just because I don't. It was a great moment. I can't rate it top 2 though. Deron Bland picking the pick six, or breaking the pick six record, and the one that he did it on was actually really cool because.
Which one was that? Was that the?
That was against the Commanders.
Commanders.
They were up 38-10. I forget who was it. Collinsworth, I think that someone called it. The announcer called it, and it wasn't Tony Romo, which is surprising.
For once.
But yeah, it was 38-10. So it was the Commanders trying to get back in the game. Didn't work, obviously.
No.
It was a 63-yard return. He evaded 3 players on the way. So like on top of it being a record breaker, it was like a pretty solid return too. I was like, when I saw Sam Howell coming up on that when he was making his return, I was like, oh, he's not going to make it, is he? And then he made it. I was like, whoa, that was a nice run.
Yeah.
It was a pretty cool play.
Yeah, but Bland is literally Trevon Diggs, so.
He is, which is, I mean, if they're going to go for that, it's classic, like, Big 12 defense, Big 12 defense, which is
but it doesn't
high turnovers.
Almost never works in certain games. But,
yeah, it's not gonna save you every time. So
no. So now I'm gonna move on to my top 3. So number 3, it's not even a specific event, but I will mention specific events about it. The infamous man known as Kadarius Toney. I had to put him up there because it was hilarious. Starting from week 1, that one drop against the Lions, where it ended up being intercepted by Branch and returned. And then, the Patriots game later that season where Toney just drops another, like easy catch, and Mahomes just like, why the heck can you not catch a ball? It was
almost
funny.
I almost put the Brian Branch interception on there because I completely forgot it was Kadarius Toney who dropped it. But I saw it and I was like,
It
oh,
was
that
Kadarius Toney.
was a big moment. He tied the game. Rookie, his first interception taken back for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And then and it's just like now that you mentioned, I'm like, oh yeah, it was Toney who dropped that. Even better.
It's always been Toney. Well, not always, but for the most part,
This year it's always been Toney.
this year it's been Toney. So I had to put him in there because it was just it wasn't torture watching him. It was just funny because there was just so many mishaps. So number 2 now.
I don't know how I came down to these two as my final two because now I'm like, I don't think either of these should be top 2. But that's the thing is there were some pretty crazy plays, but I don't know if any of them deserve like a 1 spot.
There wasn't like there were some good plays this year, but there weren't any like flashy ones.
Yeah, they weren't like.
There wasn't like a Beckham catch. That's the thing.
There wasn't a Beckham catch. There wasn't
There wasn't some like huge
the Hail Murray.
There wasn't anything like that this year, or at least that I can remember.
Because again, it's like you had one Hail Mary. Usually Hail Marys end up there, but it's like you had one that worked, and they still didn't win the game. So it's like, cool.
Oopsies.
Oh, I have to. I'll do it after I finish up mine. I'll go with I don't know what week it was. Cincinnati Bengals, Minnesota Vikings. There was 47 seconds in the fourth. The Bengals were down 24-17. I don't remember what down it was. I think it was like a second down.
Oh, I remember this.
It was they were at Minnesota's 21, and Jake Browning he went backwards like almost 10 yards and then lobbed it up for a jump ball to T. Higgins. T. Higgins had to come out of the end zone, one up, got it, and at first I thought it was I thought he turned around and extended. No, he was getting dragged out of bounds and he just went, get in, and he got it in. It was like crazy. It was a good catch, and then the awareness and creativity to just reach and get it across the goal line like that was.
It was amazing.
It was a crazy play. So
my number 2. This is just funny stuff. I'm sorry, but number 2. Tomlin walking out of the press conference while talking about his future with the Steelers will never leave my mind.
I don't blame him.
I don't blame him either. It was a dumb question. It was just his face, just like the grumpy dad, just like, I'm going to leave now.
Actually, now that you say that, I think I know what your number 1 is.
Do you?
I think so.
Maybe.
We'll get to that.
I'll let you guess before we get there. But yeah. There's no need to explain that. It was just funny.
It's just I expect nothing less from Tomlin.
It's a meme now. It's everywhere. I've seen it in non-football posts now. It's just hilarious.
Yeah.
So, all right. Number 1.
This is gonna make me seem biased, but I just don't know.
Damn.
This is just how it boiled down to.
You biased mother trucker.
I could have had so many more Ravens plays in here.
You really could have.
Because I could have put in the Lamar Jackson tipped catch, but I didn't.
You could have.
But what ended up being my last one, I probably should have put the Gibson one at the top. But what I'm left with is the Tylan Wallace punt return touchdown in overtime.
That was going to be mentioned. Yep.
I don't know. It was a crazy return. Obviously, it's a little controversial, but like I was going off of like purely just like wow factor, and that was as far as just watching the return. I was like,
no way is he coming back to return it for a touchdown. Oh my gosh, he is.
it was the tightrope. It was mostly the tightrope.
It was a tightrope,
and then the stumble recovery because he was
about to fall flat on his face if he wasn't careful.
That's the moment I sat there and I went, "That was me. I would have ate some shit.
I would have ate dirt.
I would have
ate some turf.
Absolutely." But he kept himself up, and I was like, it was just that sequence along the sideline, and then the little fancy flip at the end, the game winner.
Obviously,
it was other than the like controversial block in the back call or non-call.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it was a really cool play.
Yeah.
And I think it would probably still stand there even if it wasn't the Ravens. But
Yeah.
being a Ravens fan, and for me, it's how cool the play was, and it's a walk-off punt return, and has an extra 10 yards on Xavier Gibson's punt return. So,
Oop.
in case anyone's mad,
Yeah. Oh well.
do you want me to guess this one?
Yeah. Do you want to guess it?
Based off of, if I was going with what you like, if based off of your top 10,
I'm gonna laugh if you get this one right.
I wouldn't be surprised based off of how you're going with this. What I would put at number 10 or number 1 would be Brandon Staley going with the how are you gonna go forward with the play call? I'm gonna be calling the plays going forward. Stop asking that question.
It was an honorable mention.
Goddamn.
Unfortunately, but my top choice is Dallas losing to Green Bay, being the first team to lose to a 7th seed in the playoffs. And the entire game, I was laughing, I was watching in pure joy because everything fell apart for the Cowboys, and the entire fan base just shut up after that day. And the entire internet was just like, Dallas, I thought you were going to the Super Bowl. Because every year they've been saying that, but here we are. I know it's very cliche, but it's also like, you have to. For me, it was just, how do you lose to the Packers? Because they shouldn't have lost to the Packers. How do you lose to a 7th seed?
You dare say that I was the biased one when you were there, and you're like, ha!
Well,
You're
here's
rooting against the cow. Probably the team you root against, like second behind the Chiefs. Would probably be my guess.
Well, the thing is that it wasn't just bias. It was just the fact that how do you lose this terribly in a
Steelers.
playoff game? Because I've seen some terrible losses in the playoffs. I think everybody has. I mean,
Steelers Browns.
Yeah, you can think of that one. You can think of 28-3. You can think of I don't know, the no catch call from Des Bryant. You can think of the no call PI from the Saints and Rams game in 2018. Like, there's so many things that you can go back and be like, this is so dumb or this is so funny. This is what I used as my stance for this one, because it was such a funny thing, and it was super dumb because I actually had Dallas at like half before, like a half an hour before the game. I was like, yeah, Dallas is going to win this easy. Like, it was going to be like a 20-point victory over the Packers. It wasn't. That is my top 10, specifically top 1. But yeah. So, do you want to try and see if we can rank these? Ooh, what do we want to? How is this going to be? How's this going to work? Are we going to try and go from 10 to 1, or are we going to try and go from 1 to 10?
Probably 10 to
10 to 1 makes more sense, probably.
10. Okay.
Okay, which one do you think is the worst out of the 5 that you have?
Bland's
The pick.
bottom. I feel bad putting it that low because it was impressive, but it's just like,
Yeah, wasn't that?
I don't know. It's hard to
wasn't that
rank these.
crazy.
So that'd be my bottom. Where would you?
I have, ironically, out of all of these, I think Mayfield's interception would be the bottom. But I think
I feel like that I out of your 5, I feel like that one I would put higher.
so. Like that. So Bland would be like 10, and then Mayfield's interception would be like 9.
I'm gonna be honest. Out of the ones you picked, I feel like at least I feel like I would rank it higher than Steve Smith.
Mayfield's interception.
Yeah, just because of the context behind it.
Okay,
I think it was. I just think it was funnier.
yeah, that's fair.
I'd be fine putting Bland at 10. I think that's fair. 'Cause
Like-
again, impressive, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's a record. So
Yeah.
cool.
So we have Bland at 10. Do we want Steve Smith and Jerry Judy at 9 then?
Sure, I could see, I
Okay.
could see that.
All right. And then what? Okay.
Go to 8.
I think. Yeah, what do you think at 8?
So what were your other ones? Tony.
Tony, Dallas, Tomlin, and Mayfield.
I think what my next lowest one should probably be Higgins, but does Higgins beat out?
I think Higgins beats out Mayfield.
That's fair. So
Higgins definitely beats out Mayfield.
Mayfield goes next.
So Mayfield is at 8. Higgins is at 7.
Higgins catches at 7.
I like that. And then what we got for 6? I got Kadarius Toney
Kadarius Toney's
for 3rd for mine.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I'd say I think the next one has to be Wilson's touchdown. Garrett Wilson's touchdown.
Yeah, I think it's pretty.
So
I think it's pretty high up there.
like it's a spectacular catch, and it is like a big play because it helps them tie up the game.
Yeah. So honestly, as funny as Kadarius Toney is with all his drop passes, I feel like Wilson's catch is definitely more significant.
Yeah, it was a crazy.
It was.
That's one that I watch back, and I'm still I watch it back, and every time I'm still like,
What?
what?
All right. So okay, let's go through this. So we have Bland, Smith, Mayfield, Higgins,
T. Higgins, and then Tony,
and
then
then
Garrett Wilson,
and
and that's what 4? No, that's 5.
Yeah. So now we have the last 4.
We have our last 4.
So what's your other 2?
Xavier Gibson and the Raiders beating the Chargers.
If I were going to put this, I would say, I think Gibson is 4.
Gibson 4.
Tomlin is definitely number 3, but I think the Raiders Chargers is definitely top 2. I just don't know which one to put first.
So okay, I can agree between Gibson's was crazy. The story behind it's great. It was a crazy game. It was opening week, so it was exciting.
But I can also see Tomlin being 4.
Yeah, I think
Tomlin's
Tomlin's
4. Tomlin's 4.
It's because it's funny, but it's like
It's not super significant. So Tomlin, Gibson, Raiders Chargers, and then Dallas, or do you want to? Or do you think Raiders Chargers is funnier?
The media around it was really funny. Again, it's a less significant one because both teams were like pretty much done for the year.
Yeah,
but
it's still funny.
It was a great moment.
So I guess.
But I could see putting the Cowboys at the top. I have family who are Cowboys fans, so I don't know. I think they're both. I think they're. I think the top 2 is fair.
I feel like both of them can be pretty interchangeable because
Yeah.
like they're both like, wow, oh my gosh, this is so funny, and also, it also depends on the significance as well. But if you're removing the significance part of it and just looking at it from an outside perspective, I think both of them are pretty hilarious.
I think the Chargers one is funnier. I think the Cowboys one, like I think Packers against Cowboys, it's more impressive because the Cowboys were a better team.
And just significance, I guess, in the
yeah,
playoff
I would
scheme,
say I'd say that probably for that reason is probably higher. So I'd put that at 1. I'm okay with Raiders Chargers at 2. It's just so funny.
I feel like they're interchangeable. So I don't know. It just depends on what we look at it again. So what do we have? So we have
Number 10 is
is
Deron
Bland.
Bland, pick 6.
9 is Steve Smith, 8 is Mayfield, and then whatever it was. Help me.
Then it was T. Higgins catch.
Higgins catch. Then it was Kadarius Toney's down at 5 or 6. Sorry, and then
5 was that the Wilson catch?
Wilson
Garrett
catch.
Wilson.
Wilson catch, and then Tomlin, Gibson, Chargers, Raiders, and then Dallas, like Green Bay. I think it's a pretty good list.
I think it's a great list.
I like looking back at the season because it's like, wow, this is so funny. And also, there's just a bunch of these plays that you were mostly looking at for the most part. Just like, wow, like how does this happen? We didn't get like anything crazy this year, but we definitely had some like impressive plays. So
Yeah.
and lucky ones.
You know, I saw, looking through, I saw a lot of Christian McCaffrey. Oh, so tempted. I didn't think it was a top 10 play, but I did love the what was it? The Kyle Hamilton pick six when we bats it up and then just walks it in. I was like,
Yeah,
badass.
that's
moment
fair.
Right there.
That's fair.
There was a lot of
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a lot of things that happened this year. I have like 23 other honorable mentions, but I'm not going to go through them because those are its own stories, and some of them we already mentioned, so it's kind of pointless to go over them. So I don't know. There's a lot of cool things that happened this season. Just whether it's just honors or plays or funny things or just random stuff across the internet. I think it was all pretty fun. So yeah. I don't know. I'm satisfied with this list. So
satisfied with the list.
I'm satisfied with this list. So yeah. Thank you guys for joining us for this shorter episode. We promise we won't make them super long this time because we have a lot of content that we're thinking about doing, but it doesn't need to be an hour long. So don't worry. So yeah, thank you guys for joining us. So we'll see you guys later.
Bye.
It's so weird that we're not on the same camera anymore.
We're not facing the same camera. I'm facing that one, and you're.
I'm coming for you.